All right, this video is about histamine intolerance. This one was one of those label rabbit holes that I got into somewhat deep. Well, what happened was I ended up having surgery for diverticulitis, right? And then I was healing, and I took some probiotics to help with my gut, to fix it, because if you're on antibiotics because of the surgery, you should try to bring your biome back to balance. So I did all that, and then all of a sudden, I think at that point my bucket was full, and taking those probiotics was just the last drop, right? The last drop, and it just started overflowing. I started having symptoms, sensitivities coming on like crazy. Within a week, things just started, I started getting worse and worse and worse. I started getting sensitive to so many things. And one of them was histamine intolerance. I was also, like with food, I was sensitive to most foods. I went from eating whatever I wanted to only being able to eat 2 foods. I had 2 safe foods, I called it. And these foods I had to eat for a year and a half. Because if I went outside of these safe foods, I would have a flare, have all kinds of weird fucking symptoms, rashes, blood pressure up and down, heart rate would go up and down and up, stay up, tachycardia. I'd feel high. I'd feel like I had the flu. What else? Oh yeah, like bloody diarrhea, constipation. It was like a Chernobyl meltdown in my gut. It was chaos. It was like a war down there. And like a bomb went off, and it kept going off, right? So I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, why can't I eat these foods? Like, I was able to eat, like, I can't eat foods, and I feel horrible. And things are getting worse and worse. So I could only eat beef and rice. That was it. And it was weird at that time. Whenever I ate something, I'd have a reaction, whatever. My body and my brain would literally tell me, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how reactive and sensitive I was to that particular food. So chicken, I couldn't eat. Pork, tomatoes, forget it. Tomatoes went from eating, tomatoes for me was like amazing. I love tomatoes. Tomato sandwiches, pasta, the best, right? On pizza, It went from this beautiful tomato to, for me, my fear of it turned into like drinking lava or eating lava. That's how my fear was. And knowing that I was going to have a flare-up for 2 or 3 weeks because of this tomato. And I didn't have to eat a lot. It just had to be like a small amounts. And I was done for. Ginger ale. If I had any sort of citrus or pop, ginger, I was done for. Avocado. I loved avocados. All of a sudden, I'd have a little bite, or if I didn't know there was avocado or some sort of fish or anything, I was done for. And then I had, the regular foods that just put me into a crazy panic attack for a day. And, the regular symptoms. Like, there were so many foods I could not eat, and I had to have avoidance behaviors. I had to avoid so much food. So I went on a histamine intolerance group forum on Facebook. And, I was lost. So what did I do? I started asking questions like, what do I do? Can somebody help me? I can't eat food, right? And, oh man, I went down all these rabbit holes. And there's 40, I went and checked the other day. There's 40,000 people on this group. And most of these people are all under the same spell. I was one of them. I don't know how I got out of it. I don't know how I was allowed to find clarity. It's like, it almost feels like I was picked. Like, you will have clarity. You will find the answers. But why didn't all these other, like, there's hundreds of thousands of people out there that are suffering. And they're stuck. And they create this reality that's what they have. This is it. And they want to, and what I kept hearing in this forum was, okay, well, you got to take DAO. Sorry. It's a supplement you take some of it and you can eat any food you want. And it's hard to get. You can only get it at certain places. I think there's one supplier in Alberta. But it's very expensive, right? You take the supplement, you eat it, or a quercetin supplement, which is what I got. And everybody had their own remedies. Everybody had their own protocols. Everybody had, well, the reason why is because, right? And there was rabbit holes with rabbit holes, and they had rabbit holes. So I was lost in the world of all these rabbit holes, like a field of holes everywhere. And I was like, okay. And I was feeling like research. I thought it was research. I became an expert on bullshit, right? I had all these sensitivities: histamine intolerance, SIBO, ulcerative colitis, IBS started to affect me. I have a video about IBS. Check it out. It shows you there how I recovered from it. But the histamine intolerance, you know, it got pretty bad. Like I could only drink water. I couldn't take any medications, no supplements. I couldn't take magnesium or anything because I would have a full-out reaction. And that was scary because it's like, okay, well, before when I had ulcerative colitis, at least I could take medication and know what's going on. I have ulcerative colitis. Here is what you do. This is what you take to manage, and you can live a life, right? I didn't know at the time I could fully recover because doctors, they tell you once you have an autoimmune condition, you can't reverse it. You don't reverse it. You're stuck with it for life. It's a lifelong thing. And there's ways to cope with it. You know, there's people that, and I was one of them, you know, with UC, you can go on a carnivore diet, or you can go on these special avoidance diets and keep the UC at bay, right? Same thing with IBS, same thing with these other gut issues. You can keep things at bay. And then they call this the cure. But for me, a cure isn't something that, you know, you have to avoid or take away something to feel normal. A cure is something that where you're able to eat freely and be yourself freely with all the foods, eat anything you want without having any symptoms or problems. That to me is the cure. So yeah, I went down all these rabbit holes and I thought, okay, I got to get all these supplements. And I spent hundreds of dollars on supplements. They didn't work. The people on these forums would say things like, you know, it does get a little better. You learn, you know, there's a histamine app that you can go on. I had this app, so I knew what had histamines or what didn't, and I would avoid them. What else? I would learn how to have a low histamine diet. I was on one of those, and that was my life. And I was stuck, and people were saying, you know, might as well get used to it. It's no point in resisting it. Just let yourself understand that this is your reality now. You might as well go on disability. And I went down the rabbit holes of having SIBO and, you know, mass activation syndrome. The what they called mass activation syndrome. I went down those rabbit holes. All the videos, I thought, you know, I had everything. Technically, I had all those things when it comes to labels. But realistically, in the real life, in the real world, I had none of those things. Right? It's not the histamine intolerance. It's, you know what it is? You're in a state of fight or flight. That's it. SIBO. Technically, SIBO is bullshit. But people will say, no, I got the test, I drank the thing, and I had the gas, and, you know, my naturopath said I have SIBO. It's an overgrowth of bacteria in the upper part of the intestines, and, you know, they have these special antibiotics that you take, which kills all the bacteria, and hopefully you can restart, you know, your biome so that you don't have it. And then there's also, oh man, I was so close to going on the elemental liquid diet. Thank goodness that I didn't, because you hear the stories where people are like, yeah, I took the antibiotics, my stomach is killing me, it feels like stabbing pains, and then you hear the like the 1%, oh my god, it helped, it really did, it helped, like I can eat a couple more foods, I can have a half a banana, and I can have like a crumble of a cracker, so it works. Oh my god, you guys got to do it. That's crazy. And something must have stopped me and said, yo, don't go down these rabbit holes, stop. Okay, here's a way, I'm going to push you in this way, and then when you recover, you're going to look back and go, wow, good thing I didn't take all those medications, good thing I didn't go on the elemental diet. You can hear all these nightmare stories of people going on these elemental diets and they're in pain, and because of that they're stressing their limbic system out even more, and then they got more severe sensitivities. And now it all makes sense. Why? What happened? My baseline went up to a 10. Through life, throwing curveballs at you. Dolly's having a nap. Life throws curveballs at you. You have toxic relationships. You might have the flu. You go on antibiotics, or you take medications, or you have surgery, or you have, again, toxic relationships, coworkers that you can't stand, toxic environments at work, bosses you hate, things like that. Curveballs. Oh, maybe you had an addiction, trauma as a child. Maybe you were an alcoholic for 20 years, or still are. Smoke cigarettes, a pack a day, right? All these things fill up your bucket, right? They start to fill up to here, right? And this is where your baseline is supposed to be at 0, right? But over the years, it starts to creep up and stay at 10. Your baseline is supposed to do this. Go back to 0. Every time it's supposed to go back to 0. You get, a tiger that's behind you, right? And you got to fight or flee. So when there's a resolution, either you fought or you fleed. It goes to, the baseline goes from 0 to 10, because it helps you to protect you, because it's supposed to protect you, help protect you. And then after that's been resolved, it goes back to 0. That's what the baseline is supposed to do. But when you're bringing a tiger with you everywhere you go for 10 years, 20 years, what do you think is going to happen? Right? You got this tiger with you that wants to kill you, or this bear with you, or this tribe from another location that's going to try to spear you or kill you with a bow and arrow, or skin you. And you bring the bear with you, along with you for 10 years in a constant state of fight or flight, ready to fucking fight. Your health is going to be compromised because something's got to give, right? You're overwhelmed. Your bucket's full. Your body's trying to keep you alive. That's the priority. Not trying to digest that burrito, or heal that cut, or detox whatever you had. All the systems in your body kind of go on pause and only do minimal work. You're not absorbing nutrients properly because you're in a survival state. So, you get the fatigue, you get the chronic, you name it. Fill in the blanks. You got that from being in a survival state of fight or flight. Because nothing's in balance right now. Everything's working together to keep you alive. And that's what I found out when I took DNRS program. I found out about DNRS because somebody made a post on one of these histamine intolerance groups. And it was taken down real quick. Like, the moderators don't like that. When somebody goes, I recovered, or, what you're doing, you're going down these rabbit holes. When people, it's very rare. It happens once in a blue moon where somebody will say, I recovered and this works. People don't like hearing that because they think it's either a scam or it gives false hope. And they don't want false hope. They want people on these coping mechanisms. And the people that are usually in charge or have a big influence are people that have been there for 15, 20 years or 10 years. because they've been stuck for so long. So they figure, well, if I'm stuck, if I'm not recovering, I've been through all these rabbit holes, then you're not going to. So don't put false hope in people, because that's mean. That's cruel, right? Well, what I did is I cut myself off all these Facebook groups. I created a bubble, and I did the program. I did DNRS, and I did the Dare Response, 2 programs. And I ended up doing my own version. Because my own version is making mistakes, taking the things that I liked about this program and liked about that program and put them together. And I took out the things that I found that didn't work or kept people stuck, kept me stuck because I went through it, or unnecessary. And I took a bunch of programs, actually. I did a lot of things under the sun. I did all the failures, mistakes, and research, and, and I made my own version. And I fully recovered. It took me 2.5 years. Of course, the first year is really difficult. I was still on the safe foods. But within like, a year and a half, I had 10 foods that were in. And then it went to 15. And then usually, when you train on foods, because that's what you have to do, you have to expose yourself on food slowly. Because digestion is usually the longest thing that takes the longest amount of time to heal, right? Because, digestion starts from here, goes down to here, and it's a long process. So, you could, along the way, you could have a problem. Starting with your lips, even before you eat anything, it could cause a reaction. Because your brain has surveillance, smell, sight, touch, right? Thought. So you're constantly under a security surveillance. And that's what it is. Your limbic system is a security system that's there to protect you and keep you alive. And when it perceives danger, because you've been stuck in a state of fight or flight for too long, you're going to have a situation where the brain goes, we're not letting anything out and we're not letting anything in. So you get these uncomfortable symptoms, right? Something's got to give. The body's been keeping the score. You're up to here with bullshit, right? Right up to here. So you got to start emptying the bucket. Instead of pulling a 747, you got to let go. When you let go, you can finally handle the smaller loads, and you're able to work flawlessly and efficiently. And guess what? Everything in your body, all your systems, start to work again. They get back into balance. Systems work together again. Your liver's working properly. Your vision starts to correct itself. You don't get the floaties anymore. You don't, skin clears up. You have good shits, easy shits. You don't have the stabbing pains, the gas, the bloody diarrhea, the constipation, the pain, right? All these things go away. Poof, 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 poof. For me, I only say SIBO, I only say IBS, I only say diverticulitis, I only say ulcerative colitis, because people identify with those labels, right? But technically, I had all those things, and they're not really separated. I just had a state of fight or flight, and my digestion was affected. I was in a state of fight or flight, and it affects your digestion. Because you have lots of nerves that are attached to your gut. And we talk about that a lot. You hear about that a lot. The brain and the gut are very, very attached. So if you're dealing with something here, it's going to affect it here, right? That's just how it goes. They call it the second brain, which is bullshit. You have one brain, but they're very closely linked, right? When you bring down your baseline and you recalibrate and turn off alarms one at a time, your biome gets back into balance. Everything starts to work again. You're in rest and digest mode. You're like this. And you feel good. And you're happy. And all those rabbit holes, all the studying that you did is irrelevant. And it's all bullshit. All the gene mutations and mitochondria and fixing the gut bullshit. Don't fall for that shit. I did. And it was a big waste of time. You will never heal or fix your gut. If you do that first, good luck. I did. Actually, that's not true. I did. I took this supplement, and all my symptoms, well, half of them went away. You know, I only have bloody diarrhea every Tuesday. So, yeah, I fixed my gut. So what you're saying is bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit. There's no way. It's going backwards. You're chasing your tail, right? You got to start with your mind. Go through all the layers of the onion. Recalibrate it. Bring your baseline down. Back to 0. When you start here, your body regulates. Biome comes back online. You don't need any supplements. These are all coping mechanisms. When you get rid of all the avoidance behaviors, because avoidance behaviors keep you sick. Avoidance behaviors tell the brain that you're avoiding what? Danger. So brain says, there's danger there. Keep all the alarms on, right? The alarms are the symptoms. If you think about it, it's almost too easy. It makes too much sense. Like, it can't be that easy. No, it's got to be complicated. I know I got to be on this crazy medication. And I saw a guy in a white lab coat. I saw a guy in a white lab coat explaining mass activation syndrome. And he had all these formulas. And, you know, he's right. I'm not going to believe a guy in a truck with his dog. Like, there's no way I'm going to believe you over a guy that's making $400,000. Sorry, that's not going to happen. I'm like, am I going to take your word for it? Yeah, right. Okay. That's the thing. You're going to believe, you know, the bullshit that they feed you over somebody who's never experienced it, number one. Number two, makes you feel worse. Or you're going to believe a guy that's been through it, fully recovered, and is like you, an average Joe, that understands what you're going through and explains in detail what you're going through. All the ups and downs. Well, I'd go with me. I know it sounds crazy. So if you watch my videos, I'm putting all my information that I went through on to my videos so that you guys don't have to go through all the bullshit that I did, right? I just give you all the golden nuggets. Boom. You read them, you watch them, and you go do the work. And your road recovery will be a lot shorter. You'll still learn everything. I'm going to post videos about the journey too, because it's not just knowing the knowledge, but it's also walking the walk and making the mistakes. The whole journey ahead is the other part of it, right? So my videos, my goal is to like section it in different sections. Maybe color code. I'm not sure yet. It'll be, you know, the 5 keys to recovery, the 5 key elements, right? Just follow those videos, do the work. And then it'll be like, maybe in orange, I'll have journey tips for, you know, might take you 2 years, might take you a year. Some people might take a couple months, but the majority usually take a couple of years. I'll have a section where little tips and things that work for me. And then I think I'm gonna have a section about OCD, because I know for myself, if you get a handle on OCD, everything falls into place. And that's the brain. OCD is there to make you scan for danger, right? It's there to protect you. It's there to keep you alive. Yes, OCD brings you down all these rabbit holes. It gives you doubt. And it keeps you scanning. So I will teach you how to reprogram your OCD, reprogram your mind so that you stay focused and move ahead. Because once you program this part here and bring your baseline down, the body follows and regulates, and you thrive. First you recover, restore, then thrive. So that was my journey through histamine intolerance. It was hard. It sucked. I thought I was never going to get better. And being in this support group made sure that I wasn't going to get better, right? So I had to stop going on this and just create a little bubble, do the work, bring my baseline down, and I started to expose myself to all the foods. I did training, exposure, all the thoughts, the mental side and the physical side. Not only was I exposing myself to foods, but I was exposing myself to a bunch of other symptoms. So it needed to take its time. I needed to make mistakes. I needed to have my doubts, and I needed to learn how to get comfortable with my symptoms, expose myself to them, and not do avoidance behaviors anymore. And eventually, the good thing is when you train on one food and it becomes in, when you get one food in, you get 5, let's say around 5. When you train on 5 foods, you get like 20. And the reason why that happens is if you're bringing your baseline down, that's your whole nervous system, right? You're not going to train on an apple and only get an apple that's in. And then go, okay, now I'm going to train on this food, right? And then this food. I only got 1,000 foods to go. No, it's when you're training on one food, it hits across the board. It's helping you across the board. And once you start getting better, you're going to realize that all these smokes and mirrors and labels like SIBO and histamine intolerance and fixing the gut is all bullshit. You don't fix the gut by starting with your gut. You change the program here, and the gut regulates as a consequence, right? Stop trying to fix the gut. You'll never do it. You'll make it worse. The brain knows how to fix the gut. You won't ever know how to bring back your biome. You will never know how to create a neural pathway. The brain does that. You're just supposed to bring your baseline down, turn off alarms, right? With the methods that I teach and I have it in my videos on YouTube. Follow those, and the body knows what to do. It knows how to heal. And trust that it does. And trust that if you do the work, the brain has no choice but to change. And you will recover. Just stick to the path, no matter what. That's another thing. Stop doing 10 other modalities. Put all the research that you did on the shelf. And let it sit there for 2 years while you work on focusing on one thing. Keep things simple, right? Having things that are so complicated makes it stressful because you will never stay focused if everything's all over the place, if it's a mess. For me, I like to keep it simple. I have the 5 keys. I follow them, do them every day, and keep it simple. Because your OCD mind will make things complicated on purpose so that you spin out of control. I mean, it'll happen a couple times. But just keep on the path. And your histamine intolerance will lift. It will lift, and all of a sudden you're eating avocado or celery or all the foods, any food you want. You can eat any food you want. It just takes clarity, work, and stick to it. Just sticking to the work. That's it. So I hope this kind of helps put some clarity. You can recover, and this has nothing to do with taking supplements or being on any special avoidance diets. This is the real McCoy. This is curing your shit, like curing your symptoms, being free of any type of intolerance or allergy or sensitivity. And this goes for any gut issues, digestion issues, not just histamine intolerance. This goes across the board for everything. Take the labels away, and all you got is gut issues. That's it. So that'll be it for today, and I'll meet you in the next video.